poetry of the sixth patriarch we name found no mirror and no dust. Eka bowed to Bodhidharma and displayed his marrow. What say you, Hokuto Sensei? What is your understanding of thisness? Okay.
What is the nature of freedom? Okay.
Welcome, Sensei. You have lived in New York City, Texas, Connecticut, Columbia, and Rhode Island. Where is your true home?
Nowhere.
Okay.
The Apostle Paul wrote, "For now we see as in a mirror a reflection. Then we shall see face to face. Show me this face." What a beautiful face. Okay.
In the Diamond Sutra, the Buddha says that truth to which the Tathagata attained is neither real nor unreal. How will you manifest this? Okay.
Arriving at the silent shore of Beecher Lake, I found a homeless home and stepped outside of life and death. Unknowable, inexhaustible, the bright unborn. Henceforth, carrying no thing, with empty hands, endlessly open.
In your program.
No consciousness, no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, therefore no fear, far beyond, upside down views, at last nirvana, past, present, and future. All Buddhas, bodhisattvas rely on Prajnaparamita, and therefore reach the most supreme enlightenment. Therefore no Prajnaparamita is the greatest dharani, the brightest dharani, the highest dharani, the incomparable dharani. It completely clears all suffering. This is the truth, not a lie. So set forth the Prajnaparamita dharani. Set forth this dharani and say gate, gate, para, gate, parsam, gate, bodhisvaha.
this Dharma transmission ceremony, let us unite with endless dimension, universal life. Buddha Shakyamuni Nyorai, Omdeon Dai Bosatsu, Seishi Dai Bosatsu, Monyu Dai Bosatsu, Kugen Dai Bosatsu, Izo Dai Bosatsu, Kokuzo Dai Bosatsu, Ozan Chinju Nama Dai Bosatsu Dai Gongen Nama Sande Sonden Shotsu. Past, present, future, all Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, the true Dharma continue, universal Sangha relation become complete.
The following sutra is to be recited by Hokuto Osho in the 4 gates only.
With this great compassionate Dharani, let us dedicate to Buddha Shakyamuni Dai Bosatsu, Dai Dharma Daishi Dai Bosatsu, Obaku Zenji Dai Bosatsu, Rinzai Zenji Dai Bosatsu, Yon Yosai Zenji Dai Bosatsu, Dogen Zenji
When I, student of Dharma, look at the real form of the universe, all is a never-fading manifestation of the mysterious truth of Tathagata. In any event, in any moment, and in any place, none can be other than the marvelous revelation of its glorious light. This realization teaches our ancestral teachers and virtuous Zen masters extend tender care with a worshipping heart, even to such beings as beasts and birds. This realization teaches us that our daily food and drink, clothes and protections of life are the warm flesh and blood, the merciful transformation of Buddha. Who can be ungrateful or not respectful, even to insentient things, not to speak of human beings? Even though they may be fools, be warm and compassionate toward them. If by chance they should turn against us and abuse and persecute us, we should bow down with humble words in the reverent belief that they are the merciful avatars of Buddha, who uses vices to emancipate us from harmful karma that has been produced and accumulated upon ourselves through our own egoistic delusions and attachments throughout the countless cycles of karma. Then in each moment's flash of our thought, there will grow a lotus flower, and each lotus flower will reveal a Buddha. These Buddhas will glorify Sukhavati, the Pure Land, every moment, everywhere. May we extend this mind over the whole beings together may attain maturity in Buddha's wisdom.
Dear Hokuto, Hokuto Osho. At last this day has come. Even though you became ill in May and we couldn't do this ceremony as we had planned on the last day of Ryorin Senzai session, still I feel his wise, compassionate presence here today. Perhaps he's saying, America has Zen all the time. Why should I meddle? I've always felt that you and he are kindred spirits. Your open-hearted, humble, quiet nature, your never-failing kindness and integrity, and your profound dedication to this practice is indeed continuing his America has Zen all the time. No need to meddle. Thus have I heard. It only took one Thursday night at the Intro to Zen at New York Zendo Shoboji for you to find out about Dai Bosatsu Zendo and decide to come here. This was in the summer of 1978. You came for a weekend and thought, well, why not? I'll do kesse. You were 22 years old. You were in college. Nonetheless, you came for fall kesse, and Dai Roshi gave you the Dharma name Hokuto, which means North Star. We took time off from college to do that kesse and another kesse and another, and for the next 3 years, you were here, and Dai Roshi ordained you and gave you the name Nando, which means Southern Way. So guided North Star, your true nature, you have been giving the warmth, Southern Way. I understand that you told a professor who expressed his concern about what he saw as your dropping out. You said to him, there's a lot of knowledge that can be found at a university, but wisdom is what I'm after. So you dug into this matter during these kesse, and perhaps tasted enough wisdom to know that knowledge wouldn't be a bad idea. So you went back to college, university, you had a med school scholarship from the Air Force, you married Victoria, and had your son and twin daughters, and you worked as a radiologist for 4 years at an Air Force hospital in San Antonio, Texas. I understand that that was a time when you also reconnected with your Catholic roots and discovered or rediscovered Thomas Merton. And you continued writing poetry and published your work in medical journals. And after completing your Air Force commitment, you moved to Connecticut. And somehow, something strongly impelled you, some deep experience to return to the practice of Zen. You sat with Denko John Mortensen in Katona, and then he came here and became Vice Abbot, and you came for session, and you and I met at his transmission ceremony and did many sessions together. Hokuto Nando, I saw your potential early on, particularly after I became abbot of the Zen Studies Society on January 1st, 2011. It was a time of great adversity for the Zen Studies Society and for me. You proved yourself a true ally, along with Ryoju, Genno, and some other dear Dharma friends. And I asked you to give Dharma talks, and you did so at New York Zendo, and then I appointed you spiritual director there and invited you to join the board of directors, which was so much fun, wasn't it? And I acknowledged you as a Dharma teacher at Rohatsu Session in 2012. And you have continued in your wonderful, generous way, whatever is needed, okay. Giving talks, having all of the difficulties of the pandemic affect what we were doing here and in New York. You simply said, okay, let's do it. And we began our Zoom Doksan and interviews and talks, and you really stepped up more and more. In a way, because of the pandemic, it was clear to me that there was a next step. I am so happy to welcome you as my Dharma heir and to work with you alongside Shinge Roshi and all the Sangha to really be of service to all beings. Congratulations.
Thank you. Ekigan Roku Case 11. Obaku's Partakers of Brewer's Grain. Engo's Introduction. The Buddha's supreme power is wholly within his grasp. All the souls and all the spirits of heaven and earth are under his command. Even his casual words and sayings amaze the masses and arouse the crowds. His every gesture and action removes the sufferer's chains and knocks off their cangs. If a transcendent man appears, the Buddha meets him with the transcendent principle. Who can ever be so wonderful? If you want to understand the secret, see the following. Main subject. Obaku addressed the assembly and said, "You are all partakers of brewer's grain. If you go on studying Zen like that, you'll never finish it. Do you know that in all the land of Tang, there is no Zen teacher?" Then a monk came forward and said, "But surely there are those who teach disciples and preside over the assemblies. What about that?" Obaku said, "I do not say that there is no Zen, but that there is no Zen teacher." Setsho's verse. Commanding his way of teaching, but he made it no point of merit. Seated majestically over the whole land, he distinguished the dragon from the snake. Emperor Taichu once encountered him and thrice fell into his clutches. Thank you all for being here. It's a wonderful thing to see so many familiar faces, to know the journey that we've gone on together. Thank you, of course, to Shinge Roshi and to all of my teachers throughout the years, and to all of the teachers who I visited in Sangha Meadow just before the ceremony began. Thank you also to the family of Japanese tourists who showed up as I was headed out to Sangha Meadow, asking if they could use the restroom. And when I came back from Sangha Meadow, they were here taking photographs of the grounds and all around. It was wonderful. Thank you to the deer who came up to me as I was coming out of Sangha Meadow. Very large deer who saw me approaching and rather than run away, started walking towards me. So I said hello and thanked her for coming. And then she decided that I wasn't going in the same direction that she was, so maybe she should get out of the way. So she ran off. On the one hand, it's a momentous step to receive this recognition. On the other hand, as Obaku says, there are no Zen teachers. So what's the big deal? You've been here for quite some time, so I really don't want to go on very long, but to do justice to Obaku, I do want to say a few more words. Obaku, as most of you know, was the teacher of Rinzai Gigen Zenji, for whom our particular sect of Zen is named. He was a rather amazing person. He was reputed to be 7 feet tall, really a giant at a time when most Chinese were probably well under 5 feet tall. It's said that he had a lump in the center of his forehead, which he may have developed as a result of bowing. He bowed quite a lot. It was an important part of his practice. So I think of him kind of as an Andre the Giant, but with the personality of the Dalai Lama. When he first encountered his teacher, Yakujo saw him coming from far off. You couldn't miss him. He was the only 7 foot tall monk around. And he said, "Magnificent, imposing, where have you come from?" And Obaku said, "Magnificent and imposing, I've come from the mountains." "And what have you come for?" "I've come for nothing but this." An amazing person, Obaku. So when he was already a well-established teacher, giving teishos, sitting in a seat probably something like the one I'm sitting in now, he addressed the assembly, all the monks that were gathered, and said, "You're all partakers of brewer's grain." Brewer's grain, for anyone who doesn't understand the reference, is what's left over when you are brewing an alcoholic drink. The grain which has fermented and given up a lot of its sugars to make alcohol. It's rather depleted nutritionally, and also probably contains enough alcohol to give you a buzz if you were to drink the dregs from the bottom of the barrel and to eat that brewer's grain. So it's something that can give a little bit of nourishment and make you a little bit drunk, but you're not going to get fully nourished from it. You're not going to be healthy eating brewer's grain. So he's not exactly complimenting them. You're all partakers of brewer's grain. What he means is you're all taking second-hand wisdom. You're all reading the words of the sutras and listening to teachers and hearing words, and you're never going to get anywhere with this. Much like you're listening to me right now. Listening to my words or Obaku's words or the words of Shakyamuni Buddha. It can give you a little nourishment. It can give you a little buzz and make you feel good about the world and good about yourself. But it's not going to bring you to reality. And the only point of this practice is to bring ourselves to reality, to drop our filters, including the filters of all of the wise things that are written in sutras and in books. And this is why Obaku says, don't you know that in all the land of Tang, meaning the Tang dynasty in China, in all of China, there are no Zen teachers. In all of Japan, there are no Zen teachers. In all of America, there are no Zen teachers. Because Zen is not something that you can teach. You have to experience it in your body, in your heart, in your mind. You have to break down the barriers. And only you can do that. And teachers may have the wisdom to give you a push at the right moment and in the right way. But all of the work is done by you. You can choose to do it, or you can choose not to do it. But nobody can do it for you. The story of how Obaku taught Rinzai, the person whose name we all practice in, is a wonderful story. It's Rinzai was at the monastery, at Obaku's monastery, for 3 years and had never once spoken to the master. No private interview, no dokusan. And the head monk who had observed him and saw that there was something special in him went to him and said, "In all this time, you've never gone to see the master. Why not?" Rinzai said, I wouldn't know what to ask. So the head monk said, okay, well, here's what you do. You go and you ask him, what's the essential truth of Buddhism? So Rinzai is a good monk and he does what he's told and he goes to the master and says, what's the essential truth of Buddhism? And the words aren't even out of his mouth when Obaku picks up his stick, whacks Rinzai with it, chases him out of the dokusan room. Get out of here! Rinzai is taken aback. He doesn't know what to think. He goes back to the head monk. He tells the head monk, he hit me. What do I do? The head monk says, just, he's like that sometimes. Don't worry. Go back, ask the same question. So Rinzai goes back. What's the essential truth of Buddhism? Whack! Get out of here! Chases him out of the dokusan room. Rinzai is just beside himself. He doesn't know if he's coming or going. He doesn't know reality from a hole in the wall. He doesn't know what he's doing there even. He goes back to the head monk. He says, it happened again. I don't understand. What do I do? The head monk said, 3 times the charm. You go back, you ask the same question. So he goes back. What is the essential truth of Buddhism? Whack! Get out of here! And off he goes. And he's so flustered, he's so up in the air and lost at sea. He doesn't know what to do. He goes to the head monk and says, I'm sorry, I can't do this. It must be my own karmic hindrances. I just don't understand. What do I do? He's desperate. He says, I don't know, I think I have to leave. So the head monk tells him, okay, That's fine. But before you go take your leave and pay your respects to the master. And then the head monk goes running to Obaku. Says, listen, this guy is special. With the proper nourishment, he will grow into a mighty oak. Giving shade to generations to come. Obaku says, I know. I've seen the same thing. So Rinzai goes to Obaku and pays interest. Tells him, I'm sorry, I think it's best that I leave. And Obaku says, well, that's okay. But just go to Daigu's place, Daigu Zenji. He'll explain it all. So Rinzai makes the pilgrimage to Daigu's place. And I have no idea how far he had to walk in order to get there. But I imagine, there was no Greyhound bus. There was no train. He was a wandering monk. He probably didn't even have access to a cart or a horse. And so he walked and walked and did zazen and kept questioning himself. And this is practice. When you don't think there's a way forward, when you feel completely lost, when all you can do is question, this is practice. And the entire way to Daigu's place, however long the journey took, he practiced. He looked inside of himself. He questioned who he was, what he was doing, and what was real and what was not real. And what was the point of all of this? And he questioned, and he sat, and he sat, and he questioned. And he walked alone and in silence. And when he got to Daigu's place, Daigu asked him where he came from. He said, I come from Obaku's monastery. Ah, Obaku, yeah. And what happened there? And Rinzai tells him the whole story. I was told by the head monk to ask, what's the essential truth of Buddhism? And I did, and he hit me, and it happened 3 times, and I don't know if I'm at fault or not. And Daigu says, ha! Obaku treated you with such grandmotherly tenderness. And here you are asking if you're at fault or not. And somehow, those are just the words that Rinzai needed to hear. It was like a dam broke. All of his questioning, all of his misery, all of the suffering along the way was suddenly resolved. And he saw clearly no veil in front of his eyes. And he laughed out loud and said to Daiku, "Ha! Now I see. Obaku's Dharma is nothing special." Daiku looked at him and said, "What are you talking about? Here you are saying, I don't know if I'm at fault or not. And now you say, Obaku's Dharma is nothing special. What do you see? Speak! Speak!" And Rinzai punched him 3 times in the ribs. And Daigu pushed him away. "You're Obaku's problem. Go back to him." So this is Zen teaching at its finest. And why there is no Zen teacher. What did Obaku teach Rinzai? He just shouted at him and kicked him out of the room. Not once, but 3 times. He taught him nothing at all. Just, get out of here! Because the teaching has to happen inside of you. The teaching is your own practice, your own struggle, your own pain, your own questioning, your own realization, your own joy, your own opening. Zen cannot be taught. Obaku knows that. He says again and again in the record of his talks, his sermons and dialogues with his monks, all you have to do is get rid of concepts. Get rid of your fixed ideas about things. Open your eyes. Be with it. And I've spoken pretty long already. I just want to read one thing by Obaku. This is from the beginning of the record of Obaku in this book, translated by John Blofeld. The master said to me, all the Buddhas and all sentient beings are nothing but the one mind, beside which nothing exists. This mind, which is without beginning, is unborn and indestructible. It is not green nor yellow and has neither form nor appearance. It does not belong to the categories of things which exist or do not exist, nor can it be thought of in terms of new or old. It's neither long nor short, big nor small, for it transcends all limits, measures, names, traces, and comparisons. It is that which you see before you. Begin to reason about it, and you at once fall into error. So how can such a thing be taught? You can't think your way into it. You can't read your way into it. You can't buy your way into it. And yet it is the most precious. Even to call it a thing is to violate its nature. This one mind in which we are all contained and which manifests before us at all times, whether we are able to open our eyes and see or not. So this is Obaku. And when he says, do you know that in all the land of Tang there's no Zen teacher? Of course, his monks can't let that pass unchallenged. One of them is brave enough to stand up and say, well, yeah, but surely there are those who teach disciples and preside over assemblies. What about that? And Obaku says, I didn't say there's no Zen, but that there's no Zen teacher. You all here today are proof that there's Zen and Zen practice. But if you expect me or Shinge Roshi or Chigan Roshi to teach you anything, you'll have to wait a very long time. We can push, we can nudge, we can tell you, get out of here. We can tell you, stop thinking so much. Stop worrying so much. We can encourage you to bring out the wisdom that is your birthright. But it's up to you, each one of you. It's right there in front of you. Just reach out and grab it. Right.
announcement. You can change out of your road, and we will assemble in the game time for